RPGers, game masters, and the such. I am going to do a video. I haven't done a video in a while. I guess I've been playing a lot of games, so I haven't had a chance to really kind of put something together. I thought I'd put something together that may help certain people. Sometimes your game can get a little sluggish and slow, and you try to find things to maybe speed things up. And one of them could be initiative. And what you find out sometimes is different techniques or things out there. And I've shown several of them on my different YouTube videos about options for doing initiative. But I'm going to show you what I've actually kind of just do because it's simple and the players seem to enjoy it. And after trying other ones where they didn't like it, this is where you end up. You end up in a situation where, well, they seem to really enjoy this because it's fast and it does what it's supposed to, right? So the idea behind initiative is deciding who goes first. And usually it's monsters versus whatever. It could be between players if you play that kind of a game. But the idea is you're trying to sort out and have a consistent method by which you determine turn order, right? So looking at this, right, I'm going to look at 4 different types of initiative. The first one is the 1d20 plus your dex for each player, character, and monster. That's kind of the 5e version. Maybe it's in a previous version. I don't know. I played 5th edition. That's why I remember it, right? And that has its caveats and drawbacks, and we'll explain what they are. Another one is the 1d10 plus weapon modifier, or I don't know if it's always 1d10. It's the Greyhawk method. I tried that with my group. They did not like that. My God, it was just so sluggish and boorish and confusing that it just seemed like it made it very tedious and embedded in the minutia. The next one was a 1d6 side, and what you do is you have your dexterity of the players in order, and you set it once and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm going to say it's the Swords and Wizardry complete method. Okay, so when we look at that, I'm going to show you what I used to use before I just came up with my own sort of thing, which probably people are using it, I guess. I don't know. I mean, but it's just 1d6 each round in dexterity and order, but it changes every round. Now I'll show you why that can be advantageous, okay? So let's take a look at this. This is the 1d20 plus your dexterity for each player character. So I'm going to use characters I've done in other videos. Timmons, or Mr. Timmons for that matter, is a thief, is a dexterity 17. And in the game I was playing, it was a +2 for his bonus for that high of a dexterity. If he rolled a 14, he'd just add that to that, so he'd have a 16 for his roll, for his dexterity order. I mean, for his combat order, right? You have the mage Itaz. He has a 15 plus 1, but he rolled a 2, so he gets a 3. And then Stanwyck has a 15, he gets a +1, and then he rolled a 6, so he gets a 7. And the cleric Ellis, right, has a 0, but they rolled a 19, so it looks like they're going to go first, but the monster scored a 20, right? So the order using this method, right, is the monster, Ellis, Timmons, Stanwyck, and Itaz. And then it just repeats itself until the monsters are all killed or people are dead or whatever the hell it is, right? There's a caveat for this, and I found it when I was playing exclusively Curse of Strahd. You have to have an initiative tracker because people need to see where they are in that order because it's going to change every time you run into an encounter, right? The players usually get confused. Even if you have an initiative counter and you have things set up on who's going when, they confuse it with the last time they ran into an encounter during that session. So they keep thinking, well, no, I was after Timmons. No, you're not. You're going before him now because I don't know why. Maybe it's because we're playing every other week. And so when you're doing that, you kind of like, your head's not so focused. I don't know, but I always found it very frustrating a little bit as a DM that they seem to have a hard time keeping track, even when it's on a stick. And it seems slow. Everyone's got to roll, then you decide, then it kind of goes. There's a staticness to it as well as just kind of like everyone's got to roll, everyone's got to figure out, add all your dexterity modifier things. So it's a little, there's some parts of it I think it overdoes a little bit of the dexterity modifier. It's sort of weird. Some people have even gone so far as to actually roll for initiative every round. That's too clunky. I mean, but the best benefit of the whole thing is the randomness. So you can have the monsters kind of going in between Ellis and Timmons or somewhere in between. And people kind of like that. So you can kind of like, it adds that. There is a flavor to it that makes it fun for certain people, right? The next one we'll show you is the Greyhawk method. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to go into detail. I have a video that goes into grave detail about that. I showed that one in the Swords and Wizardry method of doing things. And just to let you know, it's on my website. So if I went here to kind of see this thing, and I went down, it's all the way at the bottom. It says Greyhawk Combat Initiative. If you want to scroll through and look at how this is done, I give examples of this in detail on how things roll. I am not going to belabor the power because that was hated to the umpteenth degree. It's actually my Merrill's, right? He did a rewrite watching someone at some convention and kind of came up with it. I actually played a game online with people that were using some version of this, and I didn't like it. It just seemed like, I don't know, somebody taking extra turns because they're using a light weapon and had a high dexterity and low armor. And it's just, there's too many things to factor in. It kind of gets boring because you're stuck in these little niches of things. And for me, some people like that. And for me, it's definitely not something I like. So I find it very confusing to keep track of. And I had to use a different, like a chalkboard and what weapon you're using or whatever it is. And we tried it for one session. There was a unanimous, this was not good. Okay. So the caveat's too methodical, very slow, clunky, and players hated it. Mine did in particular, right? I played with a group of teachers, and they're just kind of like, oh my God, this feels like I'm doing work. And I'm like, okay. But the benefit, it takes into consideration your weapon choice and makes for a very interesting game dynamic, especially in battle. If you have a dagger, you'd be faster with a dagger than you would have with a war pike or something. So you got to think that you should be able to hit more times with the dagger or your fist or whatever. And I think this goes all the way back to advanced D&D when they used to have a weapon versus armor chart and a whole bunch of stuff to it. I mean, you can delve into that if that's what your group likes and they're really into those type of mechanics, then it'd be a lot of fun. And I could see if you have somebody that's into that thing, this is like really kind of cool because you can really, really think about it. But the average player that I'm running into likes to sit down and eat Doritos and just kind of wants to play the game and be social. So it doesn't work for my crew, all right? Let's look at number 3. This is the official Swords and Wizardry order thing. I used this for a very long time, okay? And I think it's rooted all the way back in Advanced D&D, okay? It goes back to Advanced D&D used to have you roll 1d6 per side, and there was a whole bunch of things you had to adjudicate. So if you just do Advanced Dungeons Dragons Initiative, right? Just hit that. You can sit there and see this guy. I haven't written thing. You can sit there and look at this thing, and it's kind of slightly gross, right? About what to do, right? So that goes into thing, and he says things are located in the core book of Advanced D&D. Now, there's good and there's bad at this, and like I said, once again, it's one of those things where you have to decide how much you want to spend time on it, okay? Because everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing, each segment, everything, and then Advanced D&D is really weirdly confusing, and you say, well, because of these 2 rolls, you get 2 more extra segments before their attack, and it gets a little weird. It's hard to memorize those things. I guess when I was 12 or 13 when I was playing it wasn't a problem, but now I guess I'm too old and everything's hard. So it was, but the Swords of Wizardry Complete has a nice method, okay? Just looking at it, you check for surprise, both sides roll, right? See if it's surprise. It's different things for different, like monks are rarely surprised, or rangers. So that's one thing. And then you have to declare your spells, both sides, and then determine the initiative. There's movement and missile fire, melee combat spells. The round is complete, and then you return back to declare spells, and then you go through it again, okay? So that's an easier version of what was the Advanced D&D thing, actually. It prequels it, right? But the idea behind it was like, once again, there was a method. So you have to declare your spells before they can be cast. And if you get hit in the combat, or if you get hit during the missile fire, right, you will have those spells disrupted. So I actually do a really, really long version of this that shows a bunch of examples, and I'll show you what they look like. But the idea behind it was like, it was set up in such a way that it's kind of nice, but there is, just to show you this whole thing, I get a list of order, I'm going to explain what's going to happen, anything, and I show you what happens in each round of battle, okay? And That's it's a nice way of doing things. Is to kind of the flow charts help like visualizing what's going to happen. Okay, so where does that leave us? Well, leaves us in a situation where it kind of is slow, and the biggest thing I found problem with is the spellcaster frustration. So when it's their turn, they're saying I'm going to cast a spell, then they have to wait almost to the end of the round based on what's going on for the spells to get off. And there was actually different things that even Gygax wrote where there's different methods. Holmes, I don't know, Metzner, I don't know what it is. The spells go off first. So it's like between these two different things, either the spells go off first, so they're always the first out because you have to just say a word, no hand gestures, I don't know, right? Or they're going last, which would basically kind of nurse them because all you gotta do is disrupt the spellcaster. Spells are shot, right? So it doesn't work. Now, some people like that. Well, it's like, use it, right? The issue also is trying to keep track of the order of things in the sense that, okay, so who's shooting the missiles? Okay, you guys, you go first, right? And then you guys, so you're moving. Okay, so now you're moving and no. So where are you moving to? No. So it becomes more of a strategy on the board thing. And with miniatures, I guess it's an easier thing to do because then you have like something kind of clock all these movements and stuff like that, and that makes it a little more fun. There's things I didn't like about it is I think it's sort of static in certain sense. It's just you go, I go, you go, I go, right? But also the fact that the order in which the things are gone leads a little frustration, like I said, once again, to the spellcaster who feels like either they're going to get the prime spot, their spells go off first, or they go off last. So I kind of came up with my own thing based on what these things are setting forth, all right? So the player order, this is my version. I'm sure there's probably someone else has that. It's probably named for all I know. I just don't know everything, right? Player order stays static. Now, what I say is it's based on their dexterity. You can base it on anything you want. You can base it on wisdom. I don't care, right? But once it's set in the group in the beginning of the session, it's just set. So there's one less thing for everybody to think about, okay? So if somebody says, well, I'm a thief, but I think I want to go last. I mean, that's an option that can just be done during the game. I don't care, right? So anyways, and so what happens is both sides are going to, well, actually, one person at the table, I usually pick the fighter because why not, right? They roll 2d6, a dark one and a light one. All ties go to the player. So the higher the number is the one that's going to go first. And so how this is set up, I do this with the White Box, White Star, Swords and Wizardry. I actually did it with 5e, and it seemed to actually work really well there too. People liked it. It was like fast, right? And once the players decide their order, you can make them sit in that order. I don't even do that. They just have to know when they're going, and you're always following that person for the entire session. So therefore, there's no, who am I after, what's going after, because it changes every round. There's a lot of battles in my game, so I want to make sure everybody's kind of like moves through them, and spellcasters already know their spells. It keeps them more, I guess, on target. All right, so let me give you an example of what would happen in this scenario, right? So, say that was the dice roll. The dark one is the monsters, light one's the players. Play order is going to stay static, and let's say we're basing it on dexterity. So it's a Timmins, the mage. His spells go off when it's his turn. You don't have to wait till the end of the round. Okay, so which makes sense to me, right? The fighter, the cleric, spells go off at the end of the round, and then the monsters would take a turn. Okay, now this is where it gets more interesting. So then it's the monster's turn, and and the other method, now it's back to the player's turn. Now it's the monster's turn. Well, this is where it gets random, okay? So what happens, the first round, the players go. Second round, the monsters go first because they rolled higher. And then all of a sudden you can have the monsters go again. Now they got a 3, these guys got a 2 as the players. So they get to go twice first. That little level of randomness is always interesting if you have Stanwick the fighter all the way down on 4 hit points and their round just got done. They're like, oh God, let us win the initiative this round. Because if we win it this round, I get to get another hit off on this guy before he kills me. And so it makes it more interesting. I'm just saying, like, sometimes people don't want to touch the initiative dice for the group because they feel like, oh, everybody gets mad at everybody. That makes it a little fun. For me, it seemed to be like the nice sweet spot between a randomness of play and the other one is where you have more of a consistency so people can fall into their I know who I'm going after thing, so it makes the rounds around the table a lot easier. So do with it what you will. I'm just telling you what works for me and what I kind of stumbled upon just messing around. I think I did it accidentally one game, and I just really liked the fact that they got to go twice in a row with the players. It kind of saved them from being totally at TPK because they were able to take out the wizard before the next round happened. So, hey, that works. So, something to think about, and I hope you enjoyed this whole thing. I really think that when you get down to it and dissect it, the caveat is people might not like it. People don't like the fact they're always going to be in that same order through the whole game. I find out people don't really care. I don't really care if the thief always goes first. Let the thief goes, and the thief once he can hold his action. I don't wait till the end of everyone. I wait till everybody else gets done. I'm going to do it that round. That's fine. So these are choices that can be made in the spot, right? Some people don't think it's individual enough. I'm still thinking, well, it's cooperative play, it's a group play, so I don't see what the problem is, right? So the monsters can attack you several times in a row. Actually, every time they're always attacking you first. You can have player kill off, right? But let's look at the benefits. It's easy. It's not confusing. It's fast. Trust me, it's so fast as far as game playing. You don't have to wait, try to figure out when does the spell goes off, when the missiles go off. Do you guys get to shoot first? It's just, maybe we're just kind of lazy and we just don't want to do all that. But it's just random enough to make it interesting in the end, okay? And just because the monsters can attack you first several times in a row, the party can do that too. So it works on both ways. So it's a 50-50. It's a wash. Actually, the players get more of the benefit because they're always going to win on a tie. So I think as a dungeon master, you have all the tools in the tool chest. You determine the environment. You determine when they can rest. You determine, like, is there healing potions up ahead? You can determine, like, how many monsters are going to be on the playing field. You can determine everything. Players should get this one bonus. You guys on a tie always go first. I don't like that. Everyone's hitting at the same time. I decide 2 people can die in the same round. It's too much to track. It's not fun, I guess. The game should be fun. All right. With that, hopefully you guys have a great day. Game on and enjoy yourselves.